Hi everyone, welcome to this week's um, sharing, 3 ways you're getting in your own way. I'm really excited about this one because uh, I've been in my own way many times, and so I've learned a few things on how to get out of your own way so that you can succeed and become all that you want to be and not be hindered by yourself. And so I'm gonna start by sharing and telling on myself a little bit. The first way I get into my own way is through background lies. We all have those background lies running. It's like a program on our mental computer running and telling us things about ourselves that aren't true. And so recognition of those things is 90% of the battle. Finding out what it is that's going on that's keeping you from being all that you can be. I shared this morning on Igniting Hope's Facebook Live about my battle with insignificance. And one day after I started my own ministry, about a year ago, I started pursuing a website and wanting to create a place where I can share all the things that I've learned through being a counselor and through my own journey. And so I started a website that is still in the works, by the way, should be coming soon. But most of that delay has been in me battling my own insecurities. And so I didn't know what the background program was because I couldn't understand myself. I'm the kind of person who jumps right in, and as soon as you tell me I can't do something, I'm going to prove you wrong. And I learned, I never drank coffee, but I built a coffee shop, learned how to be a barista. Back before the internet and YouTube videos, I learned how to tape and texture because I didn't like I lived in a mobile home at the time and it didn't have regular taped and textured walls, and so I decided I could do it even though I'd never done any construction before. I was gonna figure it out, and I did. And I've learned how to do irrigation for my watering system. I've learned plumbing and all kinds of things, and those don't hold me back. I don't resist. As soon as something feels hard, I jump right in and am determined to do it. But for some reason, doing my own ministry I started acting not like myself. My kids were talking to me and saying, "Mom, this isn't like you. I don't know why you're hiding and running." And I'd come to, after many years of all I wanted was ministry, full-time ministry, I'd come to the place where I was, well, I've got it pretty good. I've got grandchildren now, and I'm just gonna hang out with them, and I'm just gonna show up at work every day, and I'll do that for the rest of my life. And maybe this whole idea of full-time ministry was, a big pipe dream, and that's not what I want anymore. It's what I used to want. I had all kinds of arguments talking myself out of the one thing that I wanted more than anything else my whole life. And so when my kids challenged me on why I was not acting like myself, I knew that I needed to figure out what was going on. So after a church-wide fast, one morning I was waking up and I heard really clearly, that time between awake and asleep is sometimes the best time for God to talk to you because you don't have your brain activated enough to argue with him or to run interference. So he just spoke so clearly to me, and he said, "You've outsourced your significance." And then he began to show me this long history of how I had looked to belonging to someone else to find my significance. And before I had that revelation, during my struggle, I remember arguing with God and telling him, well, I don't want to do my own thing. I want to belong to something else. I want to be a part of something else. I don't want my thing. I want to be a part of a thing. And when he showed me that I had outsourced my significance, then I realized why I had felt I wanted to belong is because I felt that was the only way I could be significant, was what I belonged to. I had outsourced my significance to my ex-husband, and he's one of those really gregarious, charismatic people who people flock to listen to. And so I always felt like a small light in the shadow of his big light. And I also felt like, well, because I used to say this all the time, I've known Bill Johnson since 1993 when he came out to our church in Round Mountain, and I've been a part of Bethel ever since it began, and I know Steve and Wendy Backlund, and all these people that I knew and was a part of. So when God called me out on how I had outsourced my significance, I realized that those were all my attempts to find significance, was in who I belonged to and who I was a part of. So I had to repent, of course, and then together we just called back all my parts of significance that I had given away. And he told me, your significance is in who I've made you to be, not who you belong to. And that was a game changer for me. I had been really struggling with writing and speaking, and I could have never done something like this. I would have been just paralyzed with fear. And after that revelation about my significance and calling it back and him telling me who I am, then all that fear is gone. I still get nervous because it's a little scary to sit here in front of a screen like this and share with, the world. And it's a little awkward sitting in a chair and talking to my iPhone, and instead of being in front of an audience, and it's a little awkward. So that's still uncomfortable. I'm learning and growing, and I'm kind of new to this. So, but I don't have that fear that just would choke out my ability to think clearly, or just jumble my words like I just did it. I just jumbled my words, but that doesn't freak me out now because I know that more words are coming. And so oftentimes we have these background lies that are running in the background. Some of the common ones that I see with people that I counsel is unworthiness. I don't have what it takes. I'm not good enough. People don't care about me. I'm not important. I'm unseen. That's a common one. If you find yourself being invisible in your life in situations, it's probably because you believe a lie that you're unseen. You probably experienced that as a child or in a significant relationship, and so now it comes across as I'm unseen, and it probably is actually happening because you believe it. And you'll be surprised how defeating that lie will actually bring you out into the light and out into the open, and you'll be seen again. So those background lies that are running a program, they affect our ability to see and move forward, but they also have some sort of a reaction to those around us, that they will treat us according to the lies that we believe about ourselves. So really seek the Lord and ask him to show you, what are the lies I'm believing? That's one of the big things we do in inner healing. Sozo Inner Healing is helping people identify the lies. So if you can't get to it yourself, then I'll leave in the comments a way to get some help with that. So identifying what are these background lies and what are they telling me about myself is probably one of the things holding you back. Number 2 is internal division. We all have multiple sides of ourselves that can seem conflicting. And so if you're not in inner unity and you're fighting against yourself, that will hold you back from forward motion. One of the things for me is that I'm a risk taker. I love to take risks, like I shared before. Typically that's my default setting, is if it seems hard or complicated or scary or unusual, and that's the thing I'm going to want to do. I'm going to want to try the weird food. I'm going to want to go on the roller coaster ride. I'm going to want to do, what other people would shrink back from. Those are the things that excite me the most. And so it's caused me to step out in things like being a business owner when I've never owned a business before. Sure, I'll build a deli and a coffee shop, no problem. But then the other side of me is that I don't like to hurt people's feelings. I don't like to confront people. And so being a business owner, of course, you have to discipline your employees, and they don't you're going to hurt their feelings. And that was a huge obstacle for me to overcome. It was just easier for me to do all the work myself instead of having to correct or discipline or fire somebody. Oof, that was so hard. So you're not going to be able to move forward if you can't embrace both sides of you. And so having some revelation on why, I had to learn why it's a good thing to confront people. I was a pastor for 11 years too, so obviously I had to confront people, and that wasn't super fun, but I learned that I wasn't hurting them, I was helping them when I had to make corrections and had to have those difficult conversations with them, that I was being true to being a lover of people when I confront them and tell them how their behavior is affecting those around them, or things in their life that need to change. I had to learn to embrace that. So if you're stalled out because you're working against yourself with conflicting sides of yourself, instead of fighting yourself, embrace yourself and all these different sides. Sometimes people who are achievers will not give themselves permission to rest because they're always achieving something, running really hard, and they hit a wall. And sometimes they believe that the only way I can actually rest and give myself permission to rest is if I hit that wall and I'm down for sickness or some other thing, I can shut down. And so being able to embrace, I'm a person who needs to rest, and I'm a person who likes to achieve, and how can I find that balance? I'm trying to think of some other examples, but maybe I will by the end. Two sides of myself that seem so opposite are, I'm a boundary breaker. I've always been a boundary breaker. I've always pushed against the rules. As soon as, like I said, somebody tells me I can't do something, then that's exactly the thing I'm going to want to do. But I'm also a rule follower, so those seem like completely opposite things, but they're really not. I like to know what is expected. Like in my place of employment, I'm going to be the one who's going to notice everybody else not following the rules, because I know exactly what they are and I'm following them to the letter. But then there'll be certain things that I'll need to push against. And so the Lord, as a child, being a boundary breaker was not understood by the adults around me. And so they were always trying to get me to behave. And of course, that only made me want to fight harder. And God really showed me that He made me a boundary breaker, and that I'm supposed to push against what is the established thing. I'm supposed to push against it. That's how change happens. That's how, the polio vaccine was formed. That's how electricity was created. That's how we're in outer space. It's people who said, hey, there's a boundary here, but we can break it. And so I've learned to embrace both the rule follower and the boundary breaker in me. And so you have probably conflicting sides of yourself, and the more you can really get to know yourself and appreciate yourself and all sides of you, instead of seeing it as a deficit, that it's actually a benefit to you and to others. And so just embracing and enjoying and celebrating all different aspects of yourself is how you can move forward and not fight yourself, because the enemy will just love to get you spinning out in this little loop of fighting your own self, so that you're not fighting him and you're not doing anything that makes him feel threatened. Okay, so the third thing is wrong motives. And while I'm talking here, I would love to get some comments that or questions that you guys might have that you'd like me to bring up, or anything that you think people watching this would love to know about. If you could put those in the comments. I operate really well on answering questions and knowing what you're looking for. Okay, so the last one of the three ways you're getting in your own way is wrong motives. So if you can, when you're focused on moving forward, if you're running to something, it has so much better effect than if you're running from something. Like, let's use the examples of the, I've shared before about my daughter who died and also my marriage that fell apart. And so I could have run from the pain and run from hurting, run from the people knowing, oh my goodness, you're so exposed when you go through something like that. And when I lost my daughter, I lived in this little town of like 1,600 people within 100 square miles. So everybody knew everybody. And being so exposed in my pain like that was really difficult because I knew people were watching me. Plus, I was a pastor. And so it would have been really easy to just pretend out in public and run from my pain. And quickly, we love to run from pain. We're humans. We take Advil, we take medicines. We want whatever it takes to avoid pain. Our bodies were created to run from pain. Like if you step on something sharp, you're going to lift your foot and get it out of the way. So that's how we're kind of designed, but it doesn't work well when you run away from emotional pain because it doesn't go away. You can't actually leave your pain because it travels with you. And so when you try to avoid it by numbing it with substances or shutting down your heart or just powering through, staying busy, things like that, don't actually heal your pain. It just stuffs it down, kind of like embers of a fire that you put some dirt over that they're still burning underneath, and then they can turn into a raging fire later. So I don't recommend that. Instead, run through your pain towards freedom. Like get a vision of freedom in front of you and say, I'm gonna face this fire because on the other side of it, there's a me waiting to happen that's going to be full and whole and complete. And that's so difficult. I don't want to make that sound easy because it isn't. I've had to do that myself. But I promise you on the other side of it, you're going to really like who you become. And you're going to really like what's waiting for you on the other side. If you run from people's opinions of you, you're always going to be running. That's another thing we run from. Instead, run toward what God's got waiting for you on the other side. Run towards the potential, the possibilities, the things that you're going to find people who don't agree with you. Nobody's going to always be happy with you. That's just the way it is. And but keep moving towards something, not from something, if that makes sense. So we got about 10 minutes left, and I'd really love to hear from you. Is there anything that you would like me to answer, talk about, that I haven't covered before, or comments on what I've already shared? I'm watching the comments here to see what's coming up. I know a lot of you have overcome things too, and I've seen some of your testimonies, and that really excites me. Let's talk a little bit about image, like the image. Gosh, with social media, everybody's posting their very best possible selves, and it's either that or somebody's sharing their brokenness in a way to get attention on themselves. So I see two things that way. And that image thing that we all want, people to like us, to people to accept us. It's so easy since I started doing these sessions. It's like watching how many views have I had? How many likes have I had? How many comments have I had? That oh gosh, that's so tempting to do. I've had to stay away from it. And we live in a world where everybody's trying to get as many views as possible. But you really have to keep your eyes forward and what it is that you're really going for, and what is the value of what you want. The things that I want to see people free. I want to see the enemy's plans destroyed. I want to see my story benefit other people, to help them when things are hard, to know that there really is breakthrough on the other side. I remember when my dad committed suicide, one of the most blessed things that happened for my mother was a woman came to her and told her about um, experiencing the same thing, and that she had made it through, and that just brought my mom such encouragement to know that there was a potential of healing on the other side, and that this wasn't going to destroy her. But you also have to be careful how you share that, because some things are um, not helpful when somebody is grieving. Like saying, gosh, when I lost Courtney, people would come up to me and try to encourage me with things like, yeah, I lost my grandmother and I was just devastated, so I can really understand your pain. And I'm thinking, really? I don't think so. Or not that I want to diminish your pain. The pain that you're going through is the deepest pain you've ever experienced. And I knew that. I knew that that person was sharing how hard that loss had been, but that doesn't quite compute. It would have been much more healing to me to have somebody who had also lost a child tell me, I know how much you're hurting, and I just want you to know that there's healing on the other side, and that I've been where you are, and keep moving forward, keep going on, don't give up. Those kinds of encouragements are helpful, but saying things like that don't relate don't help. Okay, so anybody else have anything that you want me to bring up or talk about? I don't know how to encourage questions more, but I'm gonna keep trying. Okay, so what are some other background lies that you guys have overcome in your life that you've had victory over? Anybody have anything to add? I know it's so scary to step out in public social media and share your stuff. I think isolation is a good one. I'm alone. Nobody wants me. Nobody's here for me. Abandonment, that was one of my key ones. Obviously, with my dad committing suicide, he totally abandoned the family, and that was my big red button. You know, the big red button that I was always reacting to, trying to keep everybody in my life and not chase them away. So then, you know, my husband leaves me, and there it is. That's the big one, the big fear, the big red button got pushed all the way, and thankfully that thing got healed, and so that I don't have that running as a background program anymore affecting my behavior. I see somebody said fear of failure. Yes, fear of failure, that's a big one. It's like, if I step out, I'm gonna fall flat on my face. And yes, you are. Absolutely, you're gonna fall on your face. It's a part of growth. And you have to become comfortable with your own failures and your own mistakes, and realize that it's not a disqualifier. I'm starting to learn that, you know, we're all just people with the same kind of issues, the same kinds of insecurities. Nobody's special in that way. People, celebrities, you know, they share. I remember listening to Oprah, and she was talking about, I can't remember who it was. I want to say Beyonce, but I could be wrong. Sharing that after she interviewed her, when the commercial came, she leaned over to Oprah and said, "Am I doing okay? Is this what you're wanting?" So it's like her insecurity was showing up, and she was a superstar. That just encouraged me so much to know that we're really all the same. None of us are any different. And learning to just become comfortable with your inadequacies is what really brings people in and makes people feel safe. That if I can be vulnerable and share just real things, then that will help you to be safe, so that you can also share your real things. I just love Brene Brown and how she talks about vulnerability. Her books, I recommend them, her teaching. She's just done such good stuff with bringing your true self and being truly present and truly bringing it all in every setting. And you need to have good boundaries, because people will stomp all over that if you don't. So I recommend, you know, the Boundaries book by Townsend and Cloud if you don't have those boundaries. But learning how to be your full self. for sure. And becoming, she wrote what is it, the gifts of imperfection. Man, that's so good. That helps with that fear of failure, to be like, yep, I'm gonna fail. Here it is. Here's my big fail. So, that's what I'm trying to do with these things that I'm doing, these Wednesday meetings, is I'm just bringing it all on the table, and you're going to watch me fumble the ball a few times. Is there any other questions or lies or things that you guys want to bring up? Different fears, different situations. I think one of the greatest fears that show up in relationships is that fear of, if I let you in, then you have access to my heart to hurt me the way that I've been hurt before. That's a really common one for everyone. I know that I faced that when my husband left. Will I risk being vulnerable and allowing love to come in? Not just romantic love, but any love. Like, are people going to fail me? Yes, people are going to fail me. But I can be self-protected and alone, or I can be at risk to being hurt again, but give space for love to touch me too. And so that's, been one of the hurdles I've had to face in the last 5 years. And I've been on a couple of dating experiences, which were crazy, because like I got married when I was the day I graduated high school. So you can just imagine what that must feel like for me to have to interact with a man after all this time of having only one. It's crazy to me, but so that fear of being hurt again is real. But I would rather risk that than be isolated and alone. And it overflows into other relationships, not just romantic ones, but other ones too. Allowing, when you've been rejected, and really hurt in life, then the natural reaction is to want to shut that down. And if you do that, you're the only one that's suffering. It feels safe. It's a false sense of safety. It really does feel safe, but it really does keep you from the very love that the deepest part of you craves. And so there's one relationship that you can have with somebody who isn't broken and doesn't have their own issues on their side of it, and that's God. And that's what I love about him. When you ask Jesus to come and be your friend and reveal who he really is, and he just loves you with that, coming from a wholeness that he is. He's perfectly whole, and it helps you to bumble around in your own insignificance and insecurities and fear of rejection and all of those things when you're the only one in the relationship that's the broken one. It helps to heal and to show you who you are, and to be able to take those risks and allow that healing in. But those walls that we build with others are often the wall that we have with him too. So allowing him to come past our walls and love us can be one of the most risky things any of us has ever done. Anyway, false sense of safety. It must be something that I said. Fear sure does give us this false sense of safety. I will embrace fear in my life, and that will keep me safe. And honestly, fear, it seems like it's going to keep you safe. Fear was, it's useful when you're being chased by, like that guy in Utah with the mountain lion chasing him. That fear probably saved his life. But when you use fear in relationships with people, it will give you that sense of being protected, and it will give you that resistance and hold you back, and you'll feel safe, but like I said, you'll feel isolated. So it's not the best protector. Fear is not the best protector, because fear will consume you. Love is a much better protection. The love of God, the love of yourself, and having healthy boundaries is a part of loving yourself. And those things keep you safe much better than fear. Anyway, that's my 30 minutes. Thank you all for showing up and listening. I would love to hear from you what you'd like me to talk about in future Facebook Lives. So please send me Facebook messages and let me know what it is that you'd like to hear more about. But it's been great talking to you. Have a great week. Bye-bye.